Hey everyone, Piano Man Chuck here. I am here today with Roland's brand new RD-88 stage piano. And this is really something. You are looking at the newest entry into the RD series. And the RD series is basically for professional musicians, gigging musicians, studio musicians. This is a first. It is under 30 pounds to begin with. And for the first time in an RD series, it has built-in speakers, which actually sound pretty good. Now, I've done a demo using these speakers, so I'll put a link in the description so you can hear how good it sounds just with the speakers and no other external amplification. So the speakers, there's four of them in here. There's two tweeters facing up, which is like 0.8 inches, and two woofers facing down, which is just under 5 inches. So that's a nice size for a built-in speaker combination in any kind of stage piano. And that's only 12 watts. It's 6 watts per side, but boy, it puts out. You could actually do a small lounge or a coffee house with this, or you could have a party in your living room, and this will definitely carry. You don't have to have external amplification. So that is one aspect that I'm really impressed with. I mean, there's a lot of things to be impressed with here. Now, let's start out with the physical stuff here and get that out of the way so we can go ahead and cover the layout of the buttons and knobs and then the sounds as well, and the whole concept behind zen-core. So here we go, starting with the physical. The keyboard action that's put in here is Roland's PHA4. Now that's a tried and tested keyboard action. So I'm not going to get too much into the PHA4 since it is a established Roland keyboard action. It's been there for a long time. It's proven itself. It's got a track record. But basically, it is graded, it's weighted, it's hammer action, it has escapement, it has ivory feel key tops, and it's a really nice action. No, it's not their top of the line, but it really is nice. So if you haven't tried the PHA4 action, I know it's kind of hard to get to a store these days, but if you do, try out one of the FP series, just not the FP90, FP10, FP30, FP60, same identical action. It's also in a few other of their models too. I just don't remember the top of my head which ones. Okay, now the dimensions. It's a little over 50 inches. It's 50 and 9/16 inches, which is an ideal length because this will fit in the back of most small cars. They did put the modulation and pitch wheels above the keys, which is really nice because if they put it to the left, then that extends the length, and so much for trying to fit this into a small car. It's perfect the way it is. The depth over here is 10 and 3/16 inches, and the height is 6 and 5/16, which is a little high compared to most, but still, it's a wonderful size overall to fit into your car and to carry. Just under 30 pounds, 29 pounds and 13 ounces. The graphic display they put in there is 128 by 64 dots across and down. The USB portion over here, when you hook it up to your computer, it can carry both MIDI and audio. Now, there are 3 excellent sound engines built into here. There's the Supernatural piano sound engine, the Supernatural electric piano sound engine, and their new zen-core sound engine. Now, zen-core is what sets this apart from all other manufacturers at this point. Zen-core incorporates pretty much all of their sounds from the past 50 years or whatever it is, a long time, plus new sounds. You know, it's got virtual analog, it's got sampling, it's got modeling, it's got a little bit of everything But the really nice thing about it is keyboards that have the Zen-core sound engine into it. This being the RD-88 having it, the new Roland Phantom also has that. The Jupiter X also has that. And a couple of their groove boxes, the MC series, have it. They also have some free software available called Zenology. Zenology is a free plug-in for your DAW, whether you're running on Apple Mac or whether you're running on Windows. Basically, it's got the zen-core sound engine built into that. Now, the wonderful thing about having zen-core in all of these things is, let's say you're in your studio and you're creating brand new sounds on your DAW using Zenology. You can now bring that in to your Roland RD-88 or your Phantom or your Jupiter X or whatever. And it is totally portable. You bring it from one to another. I also have a Phantom, so if I create some sounds on the Phantom that I really like, I don't want to have to bring that huge Phantom to a gig. It's really heavy, it's really big, it belongs in a studio. Although if you have roadies, it'd be nice to have that with your gigs. But I can develop any sound on that Phantom and bring it into the RD-88 or to any other keyboard that has Zen-core technology. That's the nice thing about this. And I've spent a lot of time with this, and I'll tell you why. When I first got this, like anything else, I tried it out and everything. But it has 3,000 different instruments or sounds or tones or patches or voices, whatever you want to call it, all means the same thing. It has 3,000 built in. So I spent a long time auditioning a lot of those sounds. The minutes turned into hours, the hours turned into days, and at some point I had to stop so that I can learn the rest of the board and become familiar with this. Now, despite the 3,000 tones that are built in here, there's also 400 scenes. This, like the Phantom, is scene-based. So unlike other boards where you see this familiar selection of different instrument categories here, piano, electric piano, clav/mallet, organ, strings, pad/choir, guitar/bass, brass/winds, synth, and other. These are scene categories. So everything they put in here is a scene. You have 400 scene slots in here, and they've pre-filled a lot of them already, about 300 of them, maybe not quite 300. The rest are blank so that you can store your own scenes. And if you're going to take a scene that's already built in here and modify it and all that stuff and save it, you can actually save it writing over that scene, or you can give it a whole new name and it's in another bank. A scene for those who are new to this. With this, everything you've done, chosen all the sounds you want, you made layers, splits, you made edits. When you go ahead and save that, you are saving a scene, and a scene is a snapshot of everything you've done. Whatever effects setting you had, with you had layers or splits, or you assigned certain portions of the keyboard to be a certain instrument and everything. That is a scene. So when you call up a scene, you're not just calling up an instrument like you are on other digital pianos. You're calling up basically a finished product that you created. So a lot of the pre-stored scenes that are in here are of single instruments. They may have added some effects or whatever. So to give you an idea, piano. This is the piano category, all right? And we're on the concert grand. If I go to the next piano in here, bright concert. So at this point, it's acting like any other instrument because they've stored just single instruments in these scenes just so that you can get used to this kind of stuff. but you have scenes like this. And you can see, according to the display, there are 3 instruments in here. You've got a linear synth pad, you've got a gyroscope pad, and flying waltz. So, now what's nice about this, you see the 3 instruments, and by the way, you can layer and split up to 3 instruments here. And you have control of the volume of each one. So, right now, we're looking at the first one being linear synth pad. All right, let's turn down the other 2. So now we're hearing just that. And I can make that louder. Okay, and let's hear just the gyroscope pad. Let's turn that down, and let's hear just the flying waltz. And let's bring in all the instruments. And that's your finished product here. Stored as a scene called P Crystal in scene slot number 333. And the reason you're seeing an asterisk after that is to remind you you've made some changes. And, the moment I adjusted the volume of any of those instruments, it's considered a change. So, when you see that asterisk, it's to remind you that if you like what you've changed, make sure you go ahead and write the change if you want to save it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Okay? Now, let's try a couple of others. So you kind of get the idea. This is one instrument in here. So it's really cool. So that's just an idea. So when you go through these, again, you're choosing a scene category and you're choosing a particular scene within that category. So let's go back to piano, the Bright Concert. Okay. And you can take a look at what's in here by continually hitting the increment button to get to the next Mellow Concert, Concert Grand 2, Concert Jazz 1, and so on and so forth. Here is one that has a second instrument on there, an electric piano 6, along with a grand. All right, so that's cool. Here's a grand with strings. All right, so you're starting to get the idea here. Now, if I want to go to the next category, which is electric piano, the first thing that's in there, and this is a good one to show you, is a Fender Rhodes. It's called a Tyne Electric Piano Mark II. Listen to this. Now, the reason this is a good one to demonstrate is you're not hearing just that. There is a second instrument in there, if you want to call it instrument, called key off. So basically, you're hearing the instrument, and when you lift up your finger from the key, there's a key off noise. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that by turning down the electric piano. Okay. And we're going to, that's the key off. And of course, it's adjusted to whatever note you're playing on the piano. And when you bring in the electric piano again, this is when it makes sense. This is the loudest key off with this. So I can make that a little lower. Whoops. Key off is in this position. So that's really cool. That gives you an idea of what you can do with layering. It's not just two instruments, it's stuff like this. And the both together being stored as a scene called Tyne EP Mark II. It's in slot 40 of the 400 scenes. So very, very, very cool stuff. Now, again, I mentioned there's 3,000 different instruments in here, or sounds, tones, patches, voices. Here's how you get to them. Let's start off with the piano again. Okay. Now, I'm going to cursor down to the instrument here. It's concert grand. That's what's in here. And I can go ahead and change that to the next one. Okay, you get the idea. But if I hit the Enter key, now I have access to all 3,000 instruments here. By pressing Enter where I was, that was a piano, so I comes up with the acoustic piano category. And this is the sounds or instruments in the acoustic piano category. I've got concert grand, bright concert. Well, you can see as I go through the list here, there are a lot of different pianos in here. Okay? Piano plus strings and so on. Now, that's just the acoustic piano category. If I cursor over to the right, I've got the next category, which is pop piano. And this is a JD800. The next one would be a honky tonk. Okay. All right. DNC piano, and I don't think that's the Democratic National Convention. I don't know what the DNC stands for, but blend piano. There are so many different kinds of pianos now. We've been to the acoustic pianos, we've been to the pop piano category, and there's more in these categories. But let's go to the next category and see what we've got. Electric grand pianos. There's a couple in there. All right, next category, electric piano 1. Okay, so you get the idea over there. Next category, electric piano 2. So there's a lot of electric pianos in here. Let's just go through the categories real quick. Next one, and there's a lot of them. This is organ. Now, this is drawbar organs. And of course, since there's no drawbars on this or sliders, they've pre-programmed a bunch of different drawbars drum organs with settings preset already. And you can see the setting number, or the settings, because it's part of the name. T-bars 888, bunch of zeros. Go to the next one. Let me go back to this. So you can find a drawbar setting for just about anything. And they give you a bunch of those. And then after that, you got a rock organ, Lord organ. Lord organ 2. Percussion rotary organ. All right, so no shortage of organs here. VK organ. More drawbars. So when you get to the organ category and you're going through the scenes, there's a limited number of like drawbars, but in here, when you get to the tone list, you have a lot more drawbars to choose from and a lot more organs to choose from, which is true of any of these categories in the scene categories. Now, right now, we're going through the categories of the actual tones or sounds or instruments themselves. Could spend a lot of time going through this stuff and auditioning these sounds. Let's go to the next category, which is a pipe organ. Cool. I love it. Cathedral. Church pipes. Now, I could find one with a little less chorusy than that. Church harmonium. try something here. And there's probably a better one there. All right, next category over, reed organs. Next category, harpsichord. And a whole bunch of different All right, next category, clavs. Anyway, let's go over the next category. It's I don't want to spend all day on this, but it is so easy to get lost into these sounds. All right, and I'm glad they broke it up into categories. So, sound category, Celesta. We'll just play one or two from everything. Accordion sound category, and the first one is a musette. Accordion 1. All right, next category, harmonica. All right, next category, bells. Oh, there's so many. All right, let's go to the next category, and mallets. Marimba. Next category, acoustic guitar. Here's a bright nylon. Nylon. Folk guitar. We got a lot more to go, as you can tell by that sidebar over here, that scroll bar. A long way to go in this category, as is with a lot of categories. Next category, electric guitar. so much here. All right, next category, distortion guitar. You can have a lot of fun with this. All right, next category, acoustic bass. Next category is electric bass. Next category, synthetic bass. Oh, perfect for that song. All right, next category, pluck. All right, let's go to the next category. Oh, a whole bunch of AX stuff. We're starting out with a violin echo. Here's an AX violin. All right, next category. Oh God, I've lost count how many categories we're in already. But basically, ensemble strings. Next category, orchestra, film. Symphonique. Film layers. Full orchestra. String and winds. Let's keep going because this is going to take a while. Solo brass. All right, brass section. All right, wind instruments, oboe with an echo. So there's a lot here. Let's go to the next section. There's a flute. Breathy sax. Listen to that. Let's go to the next section. Recorder. All right, let's go to the, oh, look at this, a whistle. And of course, you can alter all of these. You can add effects, you can change stuff, you can mess with the pitch wheel. So much stuff to do. Let's go to the next section because I want to get out of this and go on to the rest of this keyboard. This is Vox. Roland has, in the past, they put in a thing called scat. I believe that's what it was called, into a lot of their instruments. And it's in here too, somewhere. And that's always something that you can play around with, and you have a lot of fun doing it. Well, we'll see if we can find it. Let's go to the next section. Ah, there we go, scat. They have a whole section on scat. It's a lot of fun. They have a lot of variations on these here. Here's do's. Scat flute. Anyway, let's go on to the next section because I can get lost in that section. Synth leads. There's a lot here. Next section, there's still more. Synth pads. Wait till we get to the sound effects section. All right, next section, bell pads. Next section, polykey. Next section, synth effects. You could put together a film with this. There's enough stuff here, and when you get to the effects section, you could do a lot of Foley work with that too. Let's go to the next section here. Short square pluck. Sure is. All right. Next section, phrase. So this will actually play a phrase. Try the next phrase. Oops. Yeah. Very cool. All right, next section is category hit. Next, next section or next category, effects. That's what I was into. Sound effects. There is some weird stuff in here, and there's some useful stuff in here, and there's some really creative stuff in here. Just try some random stuff. I feel like I'm playing a video game. Well, you could probably write for video games here. Alright, so besides the effects 1 through however many there are, oh, there's quite a few. Alright, here we go. Here we get to some other stuff with actual descriptions. Alright, seashore. Rain. And the pitch should change if I do a different key. Thunder. Depending on what key you play. Thunder delay. Nice. Okay. Wind. Stream. Oh, now that sounds real good. That sounds real. Sand. The pitch changes depending on what key you play. So bring your dog in, crank up the volume, play a couple of these things, and see if they answer back. A horse gallop. Bird 2. Telephone. A helicopter. This would be a good thing to demonstrate compression with. There is a compressor button here. So what a compressor does, if you don't know, I guess the best way to describe it is it takes the high or loud notes or loud noises, it brings it down, compresses it down. It takes the soft volume and brings it up. So you've got something that's compressed, and then it can move the whole thing up. So listen to that with a helicopter. Here's the helicopter. Okay. Now if I turn on the compressor and play it, it's more kind of in your face. I don't know how else to describe it. Turn it off. That's without compression. And that's with. And it's nice that they have a button right there for compressor. A compressor is good with like drums where we have, it's not like a range of notes, it's a drum. And you throw some compression on there and it's like that in your face sound. All right, so that's helicopter. We all know what that is. I mean, there's, I don't want to say millions, but figuratively, there's millions of sounds in here. It's so cool. The next category, yes, there is another category, percussion. Timpanis. There's a lot here. So you're just going to have to try this at a store if you can get to a store. Or if you're ordering one of these and you have it delivered, oh man, you're going to spend so much time, like I did, going through all of these different sounds. Let's go to the next category, zone. Interesting stuff. Let's go to the next category. I guess that's it. We finally made it. We went through all of the sound categories. And I mean, there's like hundreds of sounds in each one, or there can be just a few sounds in each one. But as you can see, this is where your 3,000 sounds come from. And again, to get to it, here you are, Concert Grand. You highlight the instrument, which is Concert Grand. You hit enter, and now you've got everything. You're in the acoustic piano category. You just keep tabbing over to the right to get to the next category, and so on and so forth. And you use the up and down keys to choose within that category. So let me just go back to, there's this button here labeled One Touch Piano, which takes you to scene 1, which happens to be Concert Grand. You don't have to have a Concert Grand in there. You can have anything you want. So if there's something that you always need to get to with the touch of one button, this is where you do it. You throw it into scene 1 location. You can actually rename it. This is called Concert Grand. You can call it anything you want, so you can get to it from no matter where you are in this keyboard. That one touch button will take you there. All right, now while I've been doing this, you've kind of gotten a feel for how this works. You have increment, decrement keys, which is basically next and previous, or up, down, whatever. Then you have your diamond keys, I call it up, down, left, right. You have shift, exit, and enter. Exit is more like a previous menu type of thing. Enter, like I showed you, if you have it on here and press enter, or you go to the sound list. Okay. Shift, some of these buttons here have something written below the button, and you would get to that by holding shift and pressing that. And there are a couple of other cases where you can use the shift with some of these buttons. I'll show you that a little bit later. Okay, now I've showed you these category buttons, or basically categories for scenes. Over here, we have a panel lock button, so when you engage that, you can play without having to worry about accidentally touching one of these, because it'll lock the piano buttons and all that kind of stuff, so that you can't go wild and accidentally change the sound that you're playing. All right, speaker on and off. There's a button for that. Basically, when you put in a when you plug in headphones, the speakers will shut off. But you can turn them back on just by hitting that button. And there's times you want to have that. How many times I've been to a gig without a piano that has built-in speakers, and you're plugging into the main amp system, but they don't turn that on until everybody's set up and they're ready for sound check. There's times you want to go through and maybe do a little bit of rehearsal or whatever, and this is the way to do it. You just turn it on, and now you can start checking out or rehearsing something, a difficult passage that you had in the past, whatever. All right. Next, there's songs, rhythms. You can choose songs, and you can put those on a USB thumb drive or whatever, and play them. But there's a rhythm section here too. So let me show you that. If you just press that once, you get metronome. And you can change the tempo again, and you can also change the volume here as well. This is metronome. If I go to the next number in the rhythm section, now I actually have a rhythm. Let's play that. And just like the metronome, I can change the tempo and I can change the volume. And if I hit increment, I go to the next drum set here, and so on and so forth. And it just makes practicing a little bit more fun. Maybe it'll inspire you, you get creative. Now, if I go ahead and hit enter, just like I did when I was in a piano, now I get a list of all the rhythms they have. Let's just stop this for a sec. All right, and I can go through this one at a time. And again, I can hold the shift key and go through it 10 at a time. There's a lot of stuff here. So let me just go ahead and turn that on, and we'll skip 10 at a time. Funky Cold Medina. And again, when I find something I like, I'm just going to go ahead and choose it by pressing enter. And now I've got it here, and I can go ahead and change the tempo and the volume. So, very cool stuff here. All right. One of the main things that I love about this board is the things that I use the most are all here on dedicated buttons. It's as though they're reading my mind. These are the buttons Chuck likes. And they're right. The one I like the best is key touch. I can't tell you how many times I want to go ahead and change the key touch. It's also called velocity or key velocity or touch setting. On just about every board, you have to go through a menu or a sub-menu to get to this. Here, you just press key touch and you're there. Now, this also acts as a master keyboard controller. So if you want to use this control VSTs or other instruments with MIDI, you can do that. This is a master keyboard controller. You have access to all kinds of stuff here. These 8 knobs, they have things that are assigned to them already, but if you press the assign button, then they become whatever you've programmed them to become. You can assign them to whatever you want. Now, pressing assign turns it on, and pressing assign again, the LED goes off, turns it off. this is where you hold the shift key and press assign so that you can set up what you want to assign these to. Okay? And it's the same thing here. EQ, equalization. If I press that, EQ is on, and these buttons become the EQ, 3-band EQ. As I adjust it, you have a graphic display of your EQ here. Very cool. And again, if I hold the shift key and press EQ adjust, then I can set it up. I can set up the gains here. I can actually set the frequencies where I want things to take over between bass and mid-range, or mid-range and treble. So very versatile. Okay. Next one, compressor, and I showed you what that does earlier. Basically, let's go through it again in case you missed that. A compressor takes whatever sound is coming out, and it takes the loudest portions of those and brings the volume down to compress it. It takes the lowest sounds, or the most silent or low volume, and brings those levels up. So you've got a compressed signal there, it's compressed sound, and you can take that and even bring that up. So compressor on, and even though I have a light key touch setting here, I'm playing light now and I'm playing hard now. So there's not much dynamics here, and everything has been compressed, so it's all kind of louder. If I turn it off, now I have control of dynamics. Can't do that with a compressor on. And again, hold down the shift, press compressor, and here you can set up your compressor, all the different parameters that are normally associated with a compressor. Very cool. Transpose, that's another one. So basically you can transpose the keyboard. So if you know something in the key of C, your singer only does it in the key of D. Well, you hit transpose, you hold it down, you hit D. Now everything you play in C becomes D. Turn it off, turn it on. All right, I want to go back to C. And you can change it to any note plus or minus 12 semitones. And each note above here is a semitone. So, very simple. Right, now, what's above these knobs? Tone color. That's an interesting one. Listen to this. That stereo separation here. I can open it up so you have left and right even further away. Stereo width level. And if I turn it all the way to the other side, now I have a mono signal. So this is a quick way of getting mono out of here. So when you are playing with a band and you're hooking up to a front of house amp, it's typically 1/4 inch cable. You're going to take the left out, hook it up into there, turn this all the way to the left. Now everything's mono. Otherwise, you're in a studio, you want these stereo. And how much? It's up to you with this knob. And again, hold down shift and turn it. Now you have control over here. You can set the levels, but You don't have to have it limited to stereo width. You can change this to something else like EQ. So one button EQ or stereo width, that's your choices. Okay. Next one over here, multi-effects. This isn't assigned to anything right now, so when I turn it, nothing happens. But you can hold down Shift and turn it, and then you get set up for whatever you want to set this up to be. The chorus / delay should be self-explanatory. Again, hold down Shift, turn the knob, and this is where you can set it up. How much delay, all that kind of stuff. All right. Reverb, of course, this is something everybody uses, especially on a piano. The more you turn it to the right, the more reverb you get. Okay, now, there are different types of reverbs, and again, to get to those, hold down Shift and turn the reverb key. Now you can set what kind of reverb you want. If I go up here to right here, this is a SRV-2000. I have other choices: GS reverb, Hall, Warm Hall, Integra 7 reverb, or off altogether. I kind of like Hall. All right, so when you have something that has 3 sounds assigned to it, let's turn all 3 of them down so you have nothing. Now, the first sound, the breathy bubbles, as I turn this up, and the next one, future sine poly. And the last one, SL, whatever that is. So when you set up something that has 2 or more sounds, you can control the individual levels of each of those instruments. Okay, very cool stuff over here. And as I mentioned, you have mic and line jacks, so you can control the gain of those with this. Now, the final 4 buttons. Okay, split, dual, external control settings, and mic line in settings. All right, so let's start with split. If I hit split, now I've divided the keyboard in 2, where I have one sound on the left of the split point and another to the right of the split point. All right, now if I go up, there we go. There's the split point right there, because it changes from bass to piano right here. If I want to change that split point, it's real easy. I just hold down split, and let's say I want the split point here. That's my new split point. See? Very easy. And of course, you can choose whichever sounds you want by just going to the sound, highlighting it, pressing enter, and then going through the method I showed you, finding the right category, and then the instrument within that category. And that's how you set this sound on the upper one. And for the lower, same thing. Go through the same process. Very simple stuff. Okay, now I just want to mention something about their terminology here. They use upper 1, upper 2, and lower to describe what portions of the keyboard you're using. I would like to rename those actually to from upper 1 to main sound. So if upper 1 is, let's turn split off. Upper 1 is now piano, and it's across the entire board. Okay? Upper 2 means layer. So upper 1 and upper 2 together are layered sounds. So if I press dual, and I'd like to rename dual to layer. So I have two sounds now layered together across the entire keyboard. I've got concert grand, I've got slow full string. I can change it by highlighting whichever one I want, hitting enter, and then going through the process of choosing my category and sound that I want. So I don't want slow full strings, I just want strings. Okay? Now, when I hit split while I have dual or layer on, now I have three sounds. But the sounds that I had in my layer that took up the whole keyboard, now that you hit split, there's a split point. Wherever that was, everything to the right of that split point was the layer that you have, but to the right. The low, or acoustic bass in this case, is everything to the left of that split point. So here's my acoustic bass, and here's my layer. Here's my split point. And again, I can change that split point by holding split and going down here to whatever key I want. Now, okay, now, a little bit more technical, but basically you are not limited to just having the layer on the right and the lower portion to the left of the split point. You can set up all three of these so that they can take over whatever part of the keyboard you want. You might have upper 1 here and upper 2 here where part of it is overlapping, and lower over here. Or you can have all three of them take up the whole keyboard, or whatever combination you want. All right, so let's turn these off. The next one is external control setting. This is where you can control your external stuff. If you're using this as a master controller, then you have all the stuff that a master controller you'd expect it to have. Most significant byte, least significant byte, program change, all that kind of stuff. So if you're using this with a VST or you're controlling another MIDI instrument, you have everything that you could possibly want in a master keyboard controller available to you here. Volume, pan, chorus, mono, attack, decay, release, there's your sound envelope, all kinds of stuff available to you. All right. And microphone settings, I think I already went through that. And that's basically it. Now let's go through the back panel. When I'm on stage and setting up, I don't have to walk around to the back, or I don't have to stand, go over to look for where the jacks are. They're labeled right here on top. So I see DC and USB, computer and memory slots there. Foot controller 1, foot controller 2, damper, and MIDI out. So basically I just look for the label here and I can put my cable down there. It's lined up really well with what's written there. Now it comes with a pedal. Comes with a cheap box style pedal. It's just a switch, and you would put this into your damper pedal jack, and this acts as your damper or your sustain pedal, and it's just a switch. What you want to do is get something like Roland's DP10, which is what I'm using here. Okay, so this also supports half damping. This is what you want to get as opposed to that, but that will definitely get you by. And a piece of advice, keep this with you at all times, because pedals can and do break when you least expect it, and that makes a great spare. Now, what's nice about this DP10, it's got this rubber base here that slides out, so your foot goes here, the heel of your foot, while you can control the pedal, and that helps keep it from sliding all over the place. The trick I use, though, is instead of doing it like this, I turn it sideways, and then it doesn't slip. You can use that with any pedal. And the next two are for expression pedals, or on-off pedals. But you want stuff like that so you can control the volume of stuff. I have one hooked up so I can, as I move my foot on a volume or expression pedal, I can bring an instrument in or out. And if I have a mix of 3 sounds or 3 instruments and I just want one instrument to come in or out, I can set it up to do that as well. So overall, very, very, very versatile keyboard. Amazing for what it can do. For $1,199 US, you really can't beat it. And because you have this zen-core sound engine in here, and you can create sounds with Roland's Zenology running on your DAW as a plug-in, or with the Phantom, or with the Jupiter X, or with the MC group boxes. I mean, that's very, very powerful stuff there. Very impressed with that feature alone. I'm just blown away with what it can do. At this price level, it's perfect for just about any gigging musician. It's great for the studio too. But for me, gigs, that's the way to go. I got so much power in something so light and compact that it's great. It's great not only for the stage, it's great for my back, and it doesn't take up much room in the car. So hopefully you learned something from this. I can highly recommend this. Piano Man Chuck, peace out. Thanks for watching.